Hello everyone and welcome to Quality Old Games. Today we are making another tier list, this time from Germania's buildings or building roster in Rome Total War. And actually this is my first tier list of buildings, if I recall correctly. So feel free to share your thoughts about this type of tier lists. Do you want to see these for other factions as well? And of course this is based on the campaign setting. So the units that one can recruit affect somewhat the results and also the building chain. But the building chain, if a useless building is required for must-build building, then that useless building won't become must-build building, but that requirements will increase it perhaps one rank to bad. So that's kind of the reasoning I'm having here. So you may need to build a bad building to get must-build building as well. So without further ado, let's begin with those governors buildings or warlords buildings. First we have warlords hold, and actually you need to get this pretty much to build anything. So that's a must build. And then we have warlords hold. So this was warriors hold, warlords hold. I mean, for tier 2 settlement, even though you don't need prerequisites, but I think these governor's chain buildings are kind of critical, especially these first two. Though this is more important, for instance, because then you can build muster field and get spear warbands and kind of get the city going. So this is more important. And then we have tier 3, let's call it management building, High King's Hall. Yes, it's rather important, especially in later game, but I think if we consider this is must build on the high end, this is must build on the lower end, and I think this is good on the high end. So in my opinion, the importance decreases a bit, because you can get spear warband from here. Of course, you can get berserkers and Gothic cavalries through this one, but still. Then let's move to walls. We have wooden palisade. I think the images are right way this. So adding the walls, I think, gives the settlement quite a bit of additional survivability versus sieges. So that's nice. Then again, if we consider wooden palisade to stockade, well, stockade makes battles a bit longer. The knocking down of the gates and walls takes a bit longer time. It adds +1 turn to siege holdout time, but I think it's rather useless compared to this wooden palisade, because you don't get any additional towers, for example, that you get from stone walls and so on. So I think this is relatively useless here. Then we have muster fields. Of course, S tier we can get spear warbands out of it. So practically the unit that can win the whole early game alone for Germania. Then we have meeting hall. I think it's bad, because spear warband makes axemen rather obsolete. The only reason this is not in the useless category is that it's the prerequisite for Hall of Heroes, which enables to train chosen axemen, which are rather good unit. So I think chosen axemen are needed in Germania's late game, and thus this building gets a good tier. Then let's move to stables. And not much like Germania's cavalry roster from stables, to be honest. So war dogs could be rather nice, and of course in the early game, if you need cavalry, barbarian cavalry might be your choice. So perhaps this is average, but warlord stables, in my opinion, are bad, because, well, barbarian noble cavalry is not that good if you compare that to Gothic cavalry. So yeah, it's kind of bad. Then let's move to archery buildings. First we have practice range, and once again this is bad, because in my opinion skirmisher warband is not good. But then again, this is a prerequisite for archery range from which you can get chosen archer warband, and I think this is clearly good building. I think you can manage without it, but nonetheless, I think it's a really, really important building. Perhaps even more so than this Hall of Heroes, because you can combine these chosen archer warbands with spear warband and then kind of, well, not exactly dominate the field, but not far from that. Then let's move to blacksmith. Blacksmiths. First we have the basic blacksmith. Yeah, I think it's decent enough. It's nice to have the upgrades. And then this weaponsmith will bolster those upgrades even further. Though, well, yeah, the upgrades are nice, but these cost quite a bit. Of course, in the late game it's nice, but I don't see they are that good in the game, actually. So perhaps this could be in the lower end of good buildings, and perhaps this on the higher end of average, but yeah. Of course, that's increased weapons and armor are rather nice for the units, yeah. Then we have market buildings first. Let's go with trader. I don't much like market buildings, so I would give this place an average tier, but this is a prerequisite for blacksmith, and of course it brings some trade, and it's cheap, so I guess it's in the good tier. Then we have market. If I remember correctly, this is a prerequisite for weaponsmith, so average, but great market. Of course, yeah, you can build assassins or train assassins if you like to use them, but in my opinion, these begin to be rather waste of money. And of course, for the trader, the extra population growth for Germania is rather nice. But yeah, great market, it takes long time to build, it costs quite a bit and doesn't bring that many benefits. For instance, if you compare to port, that's the most important trade income building you can build in most of the settlements. So that's clearly S tier. It takes 2 turns to build, it costs only 800, and it might bring, what, in good location, some 400 up and more per turn. So really, really good investment. I think one of the primary buildings you should build in any coastal settlements you might end up having. Then we have shipwrights. It can boost trade income rather nicely, and in other settlements it doesn't do anything. Well, of course it allows you to recruit those, was it great boats or whatever the upgraded or better boats are. But still, these are, in my opinion, quite a bit worse than the tier 1 port, if you compare to them. So the cost 1600 is not that bad. 3 turns to build is not bad, but the utility is quite a bit smaller than to this first port you can build. And of course, Germania in its home regions is kind of lacking of population. So yeah, I think this is only average, a bit situational. In some settlements it could clearly go, well, let's say in some rare settlements it could go to S tier, or rather must build tier, and in other settlements it would go to useless tier. So situational. Then we have farms. I have to say that I don't quite like farms, especially with civilized factions in Rome Total War, because more often than not I'm struggling with overpopulation instead of underpopulation. But Germania is kind of an exception here. So these land clearances bring some money. They are kind of cheap, don't take much to build, and for Germania the population growth is rather beneficial, so I think this goes to good tier. Then we have communal farming. This begins to be a bit more on the expensive side, in my opinion. And if you already have tier 2 settlement as Germania, I don't think you need that much population growth. So this is only average for me. And then we have farms, interesting name, farms +2. And I think they are pretty much useless. Of course, there is some extra money, but it's quite an investment. And if you already have tier 3 settlement, you most likely don't want to increase the population growth, especially as Germania's capabilities at maintaining public order are relatively limited. So I think this is rather useless. Then we have roads, actually the only roads that Germania can have. That increase in movement speed is rather nice, and I think it also enables or affects trade somewhat, so I think it's rather nice building. Too bad Germania doesn't have any improved roads, but 1 turn 400 for the benefits. It's very good trade, in my opinion. Then we have public order buildings. Tavern increases public order a bit. By itself, a pretty bad building, in my opinion. But since it is a prerequisite for Bardic Circle, I think it's average. And Bardic Circle allows you to recruit Knight Riders. So I think that's rather nice unit to have, and because of that, it goes to good tier, and of course it increases public order as well, so you might end up building these in any case, just to maintain control of those civilized settlements. And before moving to temples, let's take mines. Once again, really solid money generating facility. Perhaps not quite as good as the ports over here, but in some settlements you can get 400-500 per turn from these basic mines, so that's rather decent. In minimum, I think you can get 200. So 10 turn payback time, which is not horrible in my opinion. And of course can be rather good in some other cases. That's solid income. So good tier for me. Then let's move to temples. We have Shrine to Freyja first. I think it's it's good. It kind of provides pretty much same benefits than farms, except it doesn't provide money, but it provides public order bonus, and you can recruit Screeching Woman from there. So I think for Germania, this temple to boost population growth is rather nice. Then if we go to tier 2 temple, Sacred Grove to Freyja, I don't think it's nearly as good, because it doesn't bring that much benefits. It increases population growth. That can be beneficial in some cases, and a slight increase to public order, but it's not really that good if you compare to the Shrine to Freyja. And then we have Sacred Circle to Freyja, pretty much suffering from the same problems as this one, except they are worse because this takes more time to build and is more expensive. And of course, when you are on tier 3, you don't really need population growth anymore, so perhaps even useless. But there is that public order bonus. Yeah, let's keep it at weaker end of bad buildings. Then let's move to Shrine to Donar. That brings only public order bonus, and slight one at that. So by itself, I would say it's useless, but since it's a prerequisite for further buildings, I think it's, well, I mean, it's bad, but not completely useless. And then we have Sacred Grove to donor. I think it brings one experience for the army and a slight improvement to public order, but still, in my opinion, it's quite bad. And once again, the saving grace is that it's a prerequisite for Sacred Circle to donor, which allows you to recruit berserkers. And since berserkers are a rather nice unit, I think this building earns a place here in good tier. Let's put it here because it increases public order, was it 15%, and also provides +2 experience. So that's rather nice. And then we move to Shrine to Woden, which actually provides +1 experience already in the shrine level, in addition to slight public order bonus. So I think it's clearly the best version of shrines. Well, not so clearly, but it's the best version of shrine you can get. And then when you upgrade it to Sacred Grove to Woden, you get +2 experience. So let's put it somewhere around here. And you could recruit Naked Fanatics. Of course, Naked Fanatics are not, in my opinion, that good of a unit, since you have better, for example, from Masterfield, Spear Warband, and so on. But also this building is a prerequisite for the real deal here, Sacred Circle to Woden, which allows you to recruit Gothic Cavalries and provides +3 experience in addition to public order bonus. So clearly this one over here is the best temple you can get, in my opinion. So here is my tier list of Germania's buildings or building roster. What do you think? Did I miss something? Do I have something too much? Do you agree or disagree? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you like the content, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Have a great rest of the day. Quality Old Games out.